Welcome to Super Bowl 31. Let's meet the American Football Conference champion New England Patriots. And now for the National Football Conference champion Green Bay Packers. From the Fox 6 News Super Bowl Scrapbook. Remembering the game.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another half-hour Super Bowl Scrapbook special. Tom Pippen's with you, joined by John Anderson. He decided not to open a jambalaya shop there in New Orleans and compete with all the guys. Nice to have you back with us, my friend. This evening, we're going to relive one of the most magical moments in Packer history. Green Bay's 35-21 win over New England in Super Bowl 31 at New Orleans. Let's take a look at a wild and woolly first quarter from the Louisiana Superdome.
1, 2, 3, Dominic!
The Packers took control of Super Bowl 31 early, forcing a New England punt that signaled the start of a big day for Desmond Howard.
They'll try to keep it away from the dangerous Desmond Howard. He has hurt a lot of people with punt returns this year. And kicked straight away. Howard's going to have a chance. And he's got some room. Desmond Howard with a good return.
Brett Favre wasted little time in putting points on the board. His first Super Bowl pass was a perfect strike to Andre Rison.
Has a man open. Andre Rison does the dance in, and Favre got settled down in a hurry. Brett Favre throws a perfect pass. 54 yards from Favre to Rison.
Less than 4 minutes into the game, the Packer fans were in a frenzy. Green Bay took a 7-0 lead.
On the second play of the game, they brought their safeties up pretty tight. We had a kind of a medium-range throw, and so he went to a blitz audible, and it worked beautifully. You know, Rising got behind everybody, and he made the perfect throw. And I told him if he audibles, it's fine, but they have to work, and that one worked beautifully.
Brett came up to the line of scrimmage, and he seen the safeties come down, and he audibled and changed the play to Razor, and I got a post on it, and I caught him in man-to-man coverage, and I just ran the route, and he delivered a great pass, as the whole world sees.
Patriots signal caller Drew Bledsoe looked to strike back, but his out pass to Terry Glenn was intercepted by Doug Evans. However, the Packers' hopes for a second quick touchdown were dashed when Favre was sacked for a 10-yard loss.
At the 38, he lost 10.
A Chris Jackie field goal gave Green Bay a 10-0 lead. After that, the Patriots' offense got rolling by adjusting its strategy. Bledsoe tossed a screen pass to fullback Keith Byers, who broke a handful of tackles and rumbled through the green and gold defense for 34 yards.
That's what they needed, a shot like that.
Then Bledsoe hit tailback Curtis Martin on a swing pass for another 18 yards to the Packer 28.
Flips a couple of tackles and moves inside the Green Bay 30.
New England got first and goal when Bledsoe went deep to Sean Jefferson. The pass was incomplete, but Packers cornerback Craig Newsome was called for pass interference, his first interference penalty of the year.
See right there, he's going up. You see, he puts his right hand on his helmet.
On the next play, New England cut the deficit to 10-7.
Bledsoe.
The momentum had swung. Green Bay went 3 plays and out, giving the ball back to New England in good field position. The Patriots were facing 3rd and 1 at the Packer 48 when they pulled a play that was reminiscent of the Packers of the 1960s.
Bledsoe is going for the bunch. Firing deep to Terry Glenn, who's got it at the 5.
Glenn's 45-yard catch put New England in position to take the lead, and on the next play, they did.
Here's Bledsoe back to throw. Touchdown New England as they take the lead. The Colts.
The Patriots have recovered from the early 10-point deficit to take a 14-10 lead with 2 minutes left in the first quarter. And they continue to build momentum on defense. They again stuffed Green Bay on 3 plays, sacking Favre on 3rd and 4. The highest-scoring first quarter in Super Bowl history ended with New England holding a 4-point advantage.
And emotionally, highs and lows if you're a Packer fan. John Anderson, the Packers made it look so easy. Coming out of the blocks, it's 10-0, and all of a sudden they're down. New England made it look much too easy on a tremendous Packer defense.
Yeah, a lot of momentum swings in that early part of the game. Of course, the Packers came out of the blocks very well, but then credit New England because they came back, and this was a team, especially on defense, that was very, very young. You wondered how they would react if they got behind early. Would they start panicking a little bit? That didn't happen. They kept their composure and came back to take a lead, which you have to credit them for that.
Credit Brett Favre calling the audible and getting to Andre Rison for 54 yards.
Yeah, and one of the lasting memories I think I will take from this game is Brett Favre's reaction after that touchdown pass. It's just sheer joy. That's the only way you can describe it, sheer joy. And keep in mind, this was one of the things leading up to this game, that there were a lot of comments from the media, a lot of questions to Brett and to Mike Holmgren down there prior to this game was, you know, Brett's got this tendency, he gets excited before big games. How is he going to perform early on? Well, the very first pass, he answered that with a perfect strike to Andre Rison, and I think you could see his reaction basically told it all. He was just exuberant that things worked out that well early in the game.
That's a great point, because the focus was, can you focus, Brett Favre, when you're less than an hour from home? I mean, that in addition to his excitability, he said, I might vomit, I might throw the ball into the stands. He didn't know. He came out, as you said, first one, it's money.
And mentally and physically. Mentally, he made the audible, so he's got things right there, and physically he delivered it. He didn't throw it into the stands as perhaps some people were thinking it might happen. He put it right where it needed to be, and I think got those initial butterflies out of the way.
But it was a chess game. New England adjusted. Then the Packers did defensively. We'll talk more on that in a moment. The Packers were in familiar territory at the end of the first quarter. They were on the short end of the count. In their final 10 games, they were either tied or trailing at the end of that first stanza.
When they got ahead of us, it was, you know, we just felt like we would come back. We knew they were a great football team, but we've done this all year.
The story of a second quarter surge when Super Bowl scrapbook continues. Brett Favre is sore after Super Bowl 31 Sunday. He got banged around quite a bit. Welcome back to our Super Bowl scrapbook special. The second quarter was all Packers. They rang up 17 unanswered points on the AFC champs. Let's now go back to the Superdome.
The second quarter brought a change in the Packers' defensive strategy. They started to blitz from the secondary to put pressure on Drew Bledsoe.
And Bledsoe back to throw. And throws it away. Reggie White in pursuit along with Wayne Simmons. Reggie took the inside pass. Bledsoe is hit just as he lets it go.
And after a New England punt,
Chupa back to punt.
Brett Favre hit Antonio Freeman, and the Packers retook the lead.
Here's Favre.
It was just all go. You know, we sent 4 guys up the middle of the field, and, you know, you just pick whoever, and I took the mismatch.
Spread out the defense pretty good, and he made the perfect throw to Freeman, and Free has been a big play receiver for us all season.
I was licking my chops when I saw that safety walk up. And 81 yards later, we're in the record books.
The 81-yard score was the longest touchdown in Super Bowl history. It turned the tables for the Packers, who took the lead for good, 17-14.
The longest touchdown pass in Super Bowl history, 81 yards.
Regaining the lead rejuvenated the Packer defense. On a key third down, safety Leroy Butler bull rushed past Dave Meggett to sack Bledsoe.
Down he goes from behind. Off the corner, Leroy Butler.
For the second time, Desmond Howard put the Packers in great field position.
Chupa's kick by Howard at the 19. He's got some room. Desmond Howard into New England territory. 51-yard punt, a 34-yard return.
I'll tell you, Desmond Howard has great confidence now.
His 34-yard return was the second longest punt return in Super Bowl history. Howard gave Green Bay the ball at midfield. Favre wasted little time. He hit Andre Rison across the middle for a 26-yard gain.
And here's Favre throwing on second. Up the middle open is Rison. Out of bounds.
That set up a 31-yard field goal by Chris Jackie, and the Packers had a 20-14 lead.
Is good.
The Patriots began to force things offensively. Bledsoe unleashed a terrible pass that was easily picked off by safety Mike Pryor.
A pass intercepted by Mike Pryor. Pryor stays on his feet.
England defense was quickly back on the field. The Packers had begun to wear them down. The running game started to grind out tough yards. Dorsey Levens swept left for 9.
Levens hammers down inside the 25.
Then went up the middle for 6 more.
Inside the 20.
On the drive, Levens carried 4 times for 31 yards. That put Favre in position for another score.
Here's Favre. And Favre pushed. Didn't get in. No, he did.
One official said he did get in. Brett Favre stretched it into the end zone.
Brett's TD capped a 6-minute drive that left New England little time to strike back before halftime. Green Bay went to the locker room with a 27-14 lead.
In fact, I just saw Mike Holmgren just took his headset off, so that means he's going to let this clock run out and just take his team inside and say 27-14. That's pretty good when you're playing for the World Championship.
Indeed it is.
That second quarter, John Anderson, was a game within a game. So many things happened. Let's talk about the Packer defense. At some point, they just disdained the run and went right after Bledsoe.
Yeah, here was Curtis Martin, who came in as a 1,000-yard rushing back, their featured back, and the Packers simply shut him down. 14 yards they allowed in that first half on 7 carries. That's phenomenal. I think that really made Bill Parcells say to himself, I've got to look at somewhere else that I can attack this team because I'm just not getting it done inside. And again, it was a total team defensive effort led by those guys up front. Gilbert Brown was just unstoppable, or immovable, I should say, inside. But credit that whole defensive front 7 because they did a fine job.
And we've seen that all season long. In terms of getting at Bledsoe, Leroy Butler, I'll never forget the play where he just took Dave Meggett and one-handed him into Bledsoe and knocked him over. Fritz, I guess, the defensive coordinator, Fritz Shermer, just said, forget it. Just tee off on number 11. We talked about if you pressure the guy, he maybe is going to get rattled. As you say, a lot of quarterbacks will get rattled, but especially the young.
Well, and they did a good job early in the game with play-action fakes, and Bledsoe was really selling that thing good, and I think that confused the Packers. It got them to bite on that run a little bit, which allowed them to open that up. As they got the lead, as they shut down that running game, I think they could concentrate a little bit more on let's just get to the quarterback. I think some of the Packer offensive players also saved the best for last. That 54-yard catch by Risen was the longest catch he had this season as a Packer. Freeman's 81-yard touchdown catch, the longest pass reception he had for the Packers this season. So a lot of good things happened in this last game for the Packers.
I love that 81-yarder, the Super Bowl record. All go, Brett said, just all go, like he'd draw it up in Mississippi. Well, the Packers were on a roll as they headed to halftime, but the Super Bowl's mid-break is the longest of the season. Would that lead to a slow start in the third quarter? That and more when the Super Bowl scrapbook, an eternity. What sort of an impact does that have on a player?
Well, I wondered about that because it was 20-some minutes long as opposed to generally their 12-minute halftime session. And the last thing a player wants to do is lose the momentum, lose getting loose. You know, now you go in it and you sit. You go through your adjustments. There's probably not a whole lot that was done, maybe some minor things here or there. But then you want to get back out there, and you could probably hear the music from inside the locker room, and all you really want to do is get back out there. Would that have an effect on the momentum of the game? We would have to wait until that third quarter to find out.
It was an interesting third quarter. The third quarter of Super Bowl 31 was eventful. The Patriots made it a game before one Packer in particular broke their backs. Let's get back now to more highlights.
Seconds, the Packers will be on offense first in the second half, and this is Desmond Howard. A couple of outstanding returns in the first half, and Howard out of bounds at about the 24.
The Packers were looking to build on a 13-point lead when they took the second half kickoff and began to march into New England territory. A short, controlled passing game was the key. Brett Favre tossed 2 passes to Mark Chmura
for about 7. Favre on third and short. Chmura again.
And 2 more to William Henderson.
To Henderson, who gets outside the 45, about the 46 and a half. Drills it to Henderson. And Henderson, a yard shy of the first down.
The drive came to a halt when Green Bay faced 4th and 1 from the Patriots' 38-yard line.
The ball is given to Levens, and he doesn't get anywhere near the line of scrimmage. Stopped by Ted Johnson.
Middle linebacker Ted Johnson fired through the hole to stop Dorsey Levens and gave New England a shot to cut into the lead.
They needed a momentum changer, and the Patriots defense gets it for him.
The Packers defense also rose to the challenge.
So he was looking at the ball, concentrating on the ball. So Brian Williams gave him one in there.
Here's Bledsoe. And again, I think deflected.
And the teams traded punts.
Tupa aims for out of bounds.
I would think they'd put a return on him.
They did. And it's a good kick.
With just under 7 minutes to go in the quarter, the Patriots began a drive that included a little of everything. It started with a 5-yard run for tailback Curtis Martin.
There's a run.
Midfield, there's a run.
Followed by a juggling catch by tight end Ben Coates.
Bledsoe. Had 2 shots at it and got it on the second chance. First down.
Buddy, I'll tell you, Leroy Butler is just mugging him. And Coach just gets it because the ball got so close that he hit him in the shoulder pads.
On first down, New England pulled out a trick play. Bledsoe faked the reverse and went down the sidelines to Martin.
Bledsoe has a reverse coming. Faked it. And now he's going to throw to Martin. Can't hang on. Had it settle in his one hand for just a second.
But even a near miss didn't slow the Patriots down. Martin rushed for 7 yards on 3rd and inches.
For the first inside the 20. Still on his feet. Struggles down to about the 17. Stopped by Eugene Robinson.
And then capped the touchdown drive on the next play.
But Curtis Martin is in the end zone. Martin broke through the middle and got into the end zone.
The Patriots had closed to within 6 points, but that lasted for only 17 seconds. The time that ticked off the clock for Desmond Howard's record-setting return.
Kick goes to Desmond Howard at the 1. Desmond Howard is off. You better turn it on or he's gone. Desmond Howard all the way into the Patriot end zone. As soon as they get back in it, Green Bay takes it away. 99 yards.
That kick return provided tremendous impetus for their team, and you know, that kind of turned it their way. But up until that point, I thought that we still had an opportunity to win.
The Packers added a 2-point conversion from Favre to Mark Chmura to boost their lead to 14 points. And when the Pats got the ball back, Reggie White made sure that New England would not gain back any momentum.
There's Bledsoe. Down he goes.
And there's Reggie White. And that's that hump move, or maybe because he was out for a rest, he was able to make moves like that.
That's possible. Reggie's coming again. Reggie White.
Reggie White's going to take over this game right now.
The Packers were only 15 minutes away from their first title in nearly 3 decades. A couple of thoughts I had in watching that third quarter. One is, Mike Holmgren said before the game, I've shown you how to win. That was his speech. Now go out there and do it. John, they played with a purpose. The hitting throughout the game, but especially then I noticed.
Yeah, and the ability to stay on top of the game mentally again as far as momentum swings. You know, the Packers did a great job in the second quarter, but then it got a little close, 27-21. And that's when you got to be mentally strong. Desmond Howard, then what does he do? He steps up and makes a huge play to give the Packers a nice cushion again. That's that whole mental aspect of the game. You've got to realize and play for 60 minutes and realize that it's going to go both ways at times throughout the course of the game, but stay on top of things.
So many of the so-called experts said the special teams will negate one another. They have Desmond Howard, we have Dave Meggett, but really the special teams, that's why he was the MVP, because it was a 6-point game, and after that, see you later, they get the 2-point conversion with Chmura catching it, and they're up by 14.
And we've said this all year long too, but I think it needs to be repeated. He had some good play, or some great blocking by some good players out in front of him that allowed him to open up those holes. I also thought that the Packers coverage teams did a great job on Dave Meggett. Really closed in on him, never allowed him much of anything, either on kickoffs or on punts, basically shut him down, because he's got the ability, especially on carpet, being a smaller type back, to make people miss and to make people look bad out there trying to tackle him, but that did not happen.
Reggie White, Super Bowl record, 3 sacks.
Well, they say great players make great plays, and he certainly did that in a time when the Packer defense really needed a boost. He came up and made a couple of great plays, back-to-back sacks. And what can you say? That, I think, really took some steam out of the Patriots. It gave the Packers a little bit of a boost and really propelled them then into the fourth quarter with a 2-touchdown lead. I also think then that at this point in the game, the Packers have to be saying to themselves, look, we are in control of this thing now. We've got about 15 minutes left. Let's not turn the ball over, and we're going to rely on that defense to get us this win.
Great player. He took it to another level. Only a defensive collapse could keep the Packers from their first world title in 29 years, but the NFL's #1 defense strutted its stuff in the fourth quarter. Watch them do it next on the Fox 6 Super Bowl Scrapbook.
Defense before, what a tremendous job they did, especially in the fourth quarter. The 3 postseason games, Tom, they did not allow a point. And when you've got that kind of security in your defense, what a wonderful thing that is, because now you know that if you have a lead, as they did going into all those fourth quarters, chances are they're going to maintain it for you.
All righty, we're going to have another Super Bowl scrapbook special for you tomorrow night at 6:30 to 7. Set your VCRs. It's the Packer players, the phenomenal season. For John Anderson, I'm Tom Pippin. So long, everybody.
The Lombardi Trophy goes home to Lambeau Field, where it belongs.
The Super Bowl Scrapbook is sponsored by Ho Chunk Casino and Bingo.
We take the human body for granted. It has 48 separate muscles, a heart that beats 100,000 times a day, and consumes 9 tons of food in a lifetime. Sometimes this human machine can develop a problem like impotence. Over 20 million men suffer needlessly. It can be treated without surgery, and now a new needle-free treatment called Muse is being introduced that may be right for you. Virtually every man can overcome this problem. Call the Diagnostic Center for Men at 1-800-274-9964. Remember, we're here to help.
This week at Pick and Save, your Volume Plus item is frozen Florida Gold 100% Valencia orange juice. You get a 12-ounce can free with your Advantage Plus Savers Club card. Just scan your card at the Reward Center when you enter the store. You'll get a printout listing your free Volume Plus item and lots of other money-saving offers. Then, when you check out, be sure to have the cashier scan your card again. Remember, scan in and scan out. It's just one more way to save at Pick and Save, the one and only low-price leader.
Everyone puts their cars on sale, but don't get a car because it's on sale. Get what you want. Get what you want. Like the popular Pontiac Bonneville, ranked by J.D. Power and Associates as the most appealing premium midsize car, and now available with $1,000 cash back on a new '97 Bonneville SE, or choose a well-equipped Bonneville SSE and get $1,250 cash back. Get what you want. This is a limited time offer. See your Pontiac Pace Setters today. Each dealership negotiates its own prices.
Conspiracy.
They played as a team. They talked about the team. And they won Super Bowl 31 as a team. But the Packers are really 45 individuals, each with unique skills, each with an important role to play. In tonight's Super Bowl Scrapbook, we'll tell you about some of those skills, some of those roles, some of those Packers.
From the Fox 6 News Super Bowl Scrapbook. Tonight, the players.
Welcome again, everybody, to another edition of a Super Bowl Scrapbook Special. I'm Tom Pippins, along with Packers Hall of Famer John Anderson. Tonight, we'll bring you the stories of the players who brought the title back to Titletown. We start with the Packers' most amazing rags-to-riches story, Desmond Howard. Our Tim Van Voren has the story of the man who went from nearly being cut in the preseason all the way to becoming the Super Bowl MVP.
For lack of a better word, the Packers took a flyer on Desmond Howard back in July, signing him to a low-money, one-year contract.
But we thought enough of him when he was coming out a short 5 years ago. We were going to make him the #1 pick here. And the fact that he hasn't had success in Washington and Jacksonville makes it more intriguing to us, because in the style of offenses we play, there's a big premium on a person's ability to run with the football after they have it. And that's pretty much what he did at Michigan when he won the Heisman Trophy. So this will be an interesting training camp for us to see, #1, how he lost it, #2, why he lost it, if he has, and #3, if he hasn't, then it's a bonus to the Green Bay Packers, and that's most important.
Desmond Howard has it at the 23.
If he makes this team, the next time he goes 77 yards, he'll jump into that crowd.
Howard didn't play much on offense this year, but his ability to run with the ball was rediscovered on special teams. Howard set an NFL single-season record for most punt return yards with 875. And he has clearly resurrected his professional career.
Okay, I'll be right back. He's got a call from the White House. He'll be right back. Okay? That's serious.
Vinatieri. Kick goes to Desmond Howard at the 1. Desmond Howard is off. You better turn it on or he's gone. Desmond Howard all the way into the Patriot end zone. As soon as they get back in, Green Bay takes it away. 99 yards.
I never really imagined being an MVP of the Super Bowl when I was younger. The furthest my dreams were just to become a professional football player. Well, obviously, I never quit on myself, or I wouldn't be here today.
A man is almost cut. He gets a call from the president, and now he's on the cover of Sports Illustrated, everybody. It's been quite an amazing year for the former Michigan Wolverine.
I was going to say, he must have a nice trophy case. He's got the Heisman and now the Super Bowl MVP award. That's two pretty nice honors in a short time span here. Well, two of the most emotional Packers after Sunday's win were receivers Andre Rison and Don Beebe. Each player has found new life with their new team, and nothing helps football players put a smile on their face like a world championship.
And here's Fogg throwing on second. Up the middle, open is Rison.
A Super Bowl ring has restored the luster to the careers of two Packers receivers who've had their share of tough times. Don Beebe played in 4 Super Bowls with the Buffalo Bills and lost all 4. Andre Rison spent the last 2 seasons bouncing from Atlanta to Cleveland to Jacksonville and finally to Green Bay. Both Beebe and Rison played a major role in the Packers' successful season. Beebe came up huge during the regular season, catching 11 passes and a touchdown in an overtime win over the 49ers. And he was also a standout on special teams.
Sideline, Don Beebe makes the catch, cutting right to the 15, 20, to the right sideline, 25, turns upfield, 30, 35, 40 into the clear. Don Beebe going all the way. He will not be caught.
Rison came to Green Bay late in the season after he was released by the Jaguars. Like Beebe, he helped stabilize a receiving corps that had been hit hard by injuries. And Rison took advantage of his time on center stage in the Super Bowl.
Far back to throw his first one. Has a man open. Andre Rison does the dance.
Both Rison and Beebe reacted emotionally after becoming the world champs.
I know I've been taking a lot of heat and criticism for the last year and a half, and I just want to go show the world that I am a receiver that can get the job done for a first-class organization. It's a happy day to be the fan. I guarantee that. This is something special. One day I'll never forget. This is a feeling I can't even... I always wanted to feel this. And, I couldn't be happier right now.
A couple of great pickups, John, as you know, by Ron Wolf, again showing his ability, getting Rison and Beebe to just see talent where other people say, no, it's not there.
And isn't it nice to see a guy like Don Beebe, who had that heartbreak 4 times, to be able to walk off that field as a Super Bowl winner?
I think he may have been as emotional as any Packer in a very positive sense. It was wonderful. Well, when the Super Bowl scrapbook continues, we'll move to the defensive side of the ball. He'll like that. And we'll sing the praises of the Minister of Defense. Running game was a key to the Packers' Super Bowl season, and that started in the middle with defensive tackle Gilbert Brown, who was a one-man gang that most teams could not slow down. Teammate Santana Dotson not only helped stuff the run, but also provided pressure on the passer from his tackle position. And the veteran Sean Jones had another solid season. Jones played some of his best defense during the Packers' Super Bowl run. You know, there aren't many words left to describe the career of Reggie White. Incomparable. The NFL's all-time sacks leader had another strong season in '96, but this one was different as Reggie won his first title at any level. Let's turn the pages of the Super Bowl scrapbook to look back on the championship season of the Minister of Defense.
For Reggie White, the 1996 season was all about attaining the one goal that had eluded him, a Super Bowl ring. The Minister of Defense preached his on-field sermons all season long, but saved his best for Super Bowl Sunday.
Here's Bledsoe. Down he goes. Reggie's coming again. Reggie White. There's Reggie again.
White set a Super Bowl record by taking Drew Bledsoe to the Superdome turf 3 times.
God brought me here. I want to say thank you, Jesus. It's not all about us. It's not all about what we accomplished. It's about what God has done in these players, in this team. And Lord Jesus, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity.
Reggie led Green Bay in sacks during the regular season and also was selected to a record 11th straight Pro Bowl. A world title allowed him to answer the critics for his 1993 decision to become a Green Bay Packer.
Yeah, my whole career, I always wanted to allow God to use me so that people know that my God is God. Mainly because he sent me here. Some of you guys thought I was crazy 4 years ago. Now I get a ring. How crazy do you think I am now?
Obviously not too crazy at all, because he has certainly done it all, and just another sensational year. I don't know what more you can say about Reggie White. I think he's the best that has ever played at that position.
He is incredible, and the way he was able to take the game, and we talked about it last night, John, to another level in the Super Bowl. He'd had a good year, but not a game such as we saw him play. He just rises to the occasion when he has to, and the great ones, as you know, do that.
He certainly did. Well, in the span of one training camp, linebacker Brian Williams went from a backup to a key element in the Packers' defense. Tim Van Born has a look at one of Green Bay's rising defensive stars.
Here's Bledsoe. Caught by Frisbee. It bounces to the Packers. To Brian Williams. Williams still on his feet, still struggling. The Packers have the ball at the New England 21-yard line.
Right alongside Reggie and McGoy and Eugene and Gilbert, little old Brian. Green Bay's right outside linebacker came out of nowhere to become a solid contributor in only his second year as a pro.
Just to be a part of the #1 defense in the NFL, you know, my first just starting, and to be a big part of that. I mean, you know, going in, I never would have thought about that.
Brian Williams didn't literally come out of nowhere. He's from the same school as his head coach, USC. During Williams' junior year, he saw something he'll never forget.
It was a big incident. Someone got shot out on the practice field. To this day, I still don't know what happened. I mean, I didn't even hear a shot. I was walking across the field, and next thing I know, a lot of guys were standing around, and this guy just started bleeding.
The incident seems long ago and far away. Williams has overcome a groin injury and doubts about his toughness and size in getting to the Super Bowl. And he knows no one would dare take shots at the beloved Packers.
I'm pretty sure whoever tried to mess with us, I feel for them. We'll probably see them laying out there tied up to something after practice if something was to happen to us.
And Brian Williams, another one of those guys who seemed like they saved the best for last, coming up with his first interception of the whole year in the biggest game, the one right at the end.
There's a man who's played the position. John, Brian Williams was a fellow many people thought, hey, you know, he's not going to make it. He's injured, and he comes out, he's got all this talent, and a silent, real key to a defense that got it done in the Super Bowl.
And just another guy given an opportunity, he steps up and makes the best of it. Well, one of the keys to Green Bay's #1 ranked defense was its ability to force turnovers. And that improvement can be traced to the secondary, which intercepted 20 passes in the regular season and 8 more in the playoffs. It was a breakout year for the 4 starters in a secondary that was second to none.
When you talk about the Packers' defensive backs, you have to start with All-Pro Leroy Butler. The 2-time Pro Bowler attacked the quarterback in blitz situations and also made 5 interceptions.
This one is intercepted at the 10-yard line. Leroy Butler. Butler is going to score. He will jump in the stand. That's the man that originated it, Charlie.
Butler's safety partner, Eugene Robinson, provided leadership to a relatively young secondary, and he led the Packers in interceptions, including 2 late in the playoff win over San Francisco. On the corners were Doug Evans and Craig Newsome, whose physical style helped stymie some of the NFL's best wideouts. In Week 13, at St. Louis, Evans' interception helped turn the game around.
Just intercepted by Evans. Evans is gone. Touchdown.
The Packers did not lose another game after that week. Evans also made an early interception in the Super Bowl that helped boost Green Bay's early lead. And Newsome's late interception helped preserve the victory.
Intercepted by Newsome. And the Packers will take over.
A lot of great contributors back there, and it seemed like one guy was stepping up one week, another guy another week, and that's what you need to have a great team effort.
And you'll recall Ron Wolf challenged Leroy Butler, John, in the preseason to work hard, to come in shape, et cetera, and he answered the call and had his best season, I think. Well, we'll change sides of the ball when the Super Bowl scrapbook continues. We'll go on the offensive with receiver Antonio Freeman, who developed into a game breaker. His coming out party came at Soldier Field in October when he made that amazing catch. We'll be right back. The Packers tight ends were a contrast in styles. Mark Chmura's offensive numbers were slowed by injury, but his blocking skills proved to be important to Green Bay's ground attack. Keith Jackson grabbed the headlines and made the Pro Bowl for his ability to get into the end zone. Jackson scored 10 touchdowns, becoming one of Brett Favre's favorite targets in the red zone. And John, I just love K-Jax. When he gets that first down, both those guys an integral part of the offensive success.
They really did, and it really provided matchup problems for opposing defenses. Who do you defend when they go to that two tight end situation? Because you've got two guys now who are able to move inside and really work to get open. Well, the Packers' situation at wide receiver looked grim somewhat when Robert Brooks was lost for the season on the first play from scrimmage against the 49ers. But after missing some time of his own, Antonio Freeman stepped up his game to rejuvenate the Green Bay passing attack. Let's take a look at the new Packers playmaker.
Here's Favre. Antonio Freeman, they're not going to get a chance. Touchdown, Green Bay, as the Packers recapture the lead.
The development of a professional receiver unfolded this season in the form of Antonio Freeman. Consider this. A year ago, Freeman caught 8 passes. This year, he emerged as a starting receiver and went on to lead the team in receptions with 56. And it wasn't all smooth sailing. He changed positions from split end to flanker when Robert Brooks was injured, and he himself missed 4 games with a broken arm. Coupled with the team's remarkable play, Freeman was asked if there's one word to summarize what's going on this season.
Super. I mean, that's what type of season it's been. You know, even with my arm, but, you know, the fact that God allowed me to come back and be a part of this great thing that's happening around here, it's just been super.
And really what I find remarkable, Tom, is this was just a guy, as I mentioned in the piece there, 8 catches a year ago, and what a progression that he had this whole season long. It was just almost like he unfolded before our eyes. He became such a complete receiver towards the end of the season.
And some experts felt that maybe he was a reach at 3rd round from Virginia Tech. Ron Wolf again seeing the talent, and he's a main man now in the league.
He really is, and only good things ahead. You got a receiver here in your 3rd year, coming back next year, a young 3rd-year player. And boy, the sky's the limit for this guy.
Kind of like his style, too. He's cool, isn't he?
Yeah.
Antonio Freeman. The Packers' passing game drew much of the attention this year, but the Packers consistently killed their opponents with the run. The backfield trio of Edgar Bennett, Dorsey Levens, and William Henderson combined to drive Green Bay's running attack.
Favre gets to Levens, and Levens picks up a Packer first down.
The revival of the running game was a key to the success of the Packers, and at no time was that more evident than during the playoffs.
2nd and 8, Edgar Bennett gets by one defender. Edgar Bennett drives, touchdown, Packers.
Edgar Bennett carried the load in the Packers' muddy win over San Francisco, scoring 2 touchdowns in the Lambeau Field quagmire. And both Bennett and Levens are dangerous receivers. Just ask the Carolina Panthers, who Levens carved up for his first 100-yard receiving day as a pro.
Favre back to throw it. For Levens. Touchdown.
One of the keys to the running game was the drive blocking of 2nd-year fullback William Henderson, who opened holes for Levens and Bennett all season long. And although the running game was slowed at the Superdome, Levens was the key element in a 2nd-quarter drive that carried the green and gold to a 13-point halftime lead. The Packers running backs helped Green Bay run to glory.
Dorsey Levens in the last couple of weeks, the last couple of games, has really developed into a force.
talk about matchup problems with the tight ends, I think the running backs provided the same kinds of things, because now you put both those guys in the backfield on occasion, you've got the threat of run, and both of those guys are very adept at catching the ball when they come out of the backfield as well.
And you were at Ron Wolf's news conference today where he said it's nice to be able to play them in tandem and relieve one another. They're potent.
And hoping that they can both be back on that team next year. Of course, Dorsey Levin's a restricted free agent, which means the Packers can match any offer that he might get in about a month or so when his contract comes due.
He looks like he's ready to take it to the next level. Still to come, the NFL's two-time MVP who was a prophet way back in July.
So this year, you know, it's Super Bowl or bust. I mean, if we don't go to the Super Bowl, then it was a disappointing year for me and for my teammates.
The story of Brett Favre up next on the Super Bowl Scrapbook.
Sure, call Holiday Travel at 543-9700 or 1-800-826-2266.
The Packers got valuable contributions from their rookies during the '96 season. Quarterback Tyrone Williams improved throughout the campaign and made a beautiful interception against Carolina that helped key a Packer win in the NFC Championship game. Wide receiver Derek Mays saw limited time but showed flashes of brilliance. Remember that touchdown catch against Kansas City? Wow, something for the future perhaps. And first-round pick John Michaels did some on-the-job training when he was forced into duty as the Packers' starting left tackle. Welcome back, everybody, to the Super Bowl Scrapbook. John, the story of the Packers' offensive line really is a tale about a group of underdogs.
Well, you're right, Tom, because throughout the season they weren't given too much credit for performing their duties, but the members of the offensive line performed their best when it mattered the most, and that was down the stretch.
Here's Favre. Antonio Freeman, they're not going to catch him. Touchdown, Green Bay, as the Packers recapture the lead.
Brett Favre is the National Football League's premier player for the second straight season because he makes plays that no other quarterback can make.
Favre being chased by DeMarco. Ford got away, throws, touchdown!
It's more than the 39 touchdown passes, which broke the NFC record that he set last year.
Oh, boy, now back to his left. Throws to the end zone.
The success of the Packers starts and ends with Brett Favre.
Favre changing the play of the line. Look,
that's the essence of an MVP. Where would the Pack be without their leader?
Again, muscles away from the pass rush, throws in the end zone.
An MVP has to have the ability to focus on the task at hand, regardless of circumstances, on and off the field.
It's hitting the backfield, then call from behind. He takes a shot. Tony Tolbert almost decapitated Brett Favre from behind.
More than anything else, what makes Brett Favre is his highly competitive nature, along with a strong belief that he can make any play, anytime.
I always feel like if I move around or something, someone's going to be open. That's the way I play football, and that's never going to change.
Set up for the Packers, and Favre back to throw his first one. Going deep, has a man open. Andre Rison does the dance in, and Favre got settled down in a hurry.
Now I'm greedy. Now I want to win more. I see what other players have talked about. Once you win one, you know, we want to come back and win another one, but we want to enjoy this for a while.
Now, the two-time NFL MVP, Brett Favre. He's not one to one-up his offensive lineman, but he wanted to pop in there. And what can you say about Brett Favre? He said, I want to get to the Super Bowl or bust. He did it. He overcame all the adversity and had an absolutely fabulous season, John.
You might say he had an MVP season for the second straight time, and give him credit because he made the Packers go when they needed him. They didn't need him every single game, but most of the time they did, and he certainly performed. Go ahead. He did have some help, however, with that offensive line.
Before we get into that, let me ask you a question here about Favre, and that is this. You're concerned a little bit about the focus. My concern is, and apparently I'm not going to have that offensive line tape, but certainly they were a real key. Can he, John, be able to put all the distractions away of being a guy? His sports marketing agent, Joe Sweeney, said he stands to make Brett Favre $5 million away from the football field. Do you feel he has what it takes not to get too hung up in all that? We know he's a focused person, but that, to me, could be a concern.
Well, I think he's handled it very well thus far, and I don't expect it to change much from this point forward. You know, he's been the MVP last season, and he had all the distractions. He had the same kind of attention, the same kinds of media recognition, and he handled that perfectly to the point where he was able to get them into that Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl and play very, very well. I mentioned previous, but I think it bears repeating that, to me, that one of the lasting memories of this Super Bowl game is Brett Favre's running off the field after him throwing that first touchdown pass. Here's a guy who made an audible at the line in the second play of the game. There was concerns, is he going to be too excited and too ready to go? That wasn't the case. He was able to deliver the ball and put it right where it needed to be.
When it comes to Brett Favre and football, nothing else matters. He zones right in. For Brian Graham, Gordy Transow, Suzanne Barthel, John Anderson.